9 of God Save the King with our guest Lavender.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I am Lavader. I am new to the monarchist online community. I, yeah, as I said, yeah, sorry, a bit this kind of distracting, but anyway, I wait. There's a kind of a echo.
Uh, do you have the stream on in the background?
Let me check. Let me just check.
I mean, it's I'm not hearing
Okay.
it.
All right. Well, I believe. Yeah, I think I had the stream somewhere in the back. Yeah, I'm not hearing it anymore. But anyway, as I said, sorry for that inconvenience.
No
My name is
problem.
Lavader. I am fairly new to the monarchist online community. I have a YouTube channel with over 1,000 subscribers, which I mainly use to make historical as well as political videos. Uh, I am I am a Bosniak by ethnicity, but I live in Germany, and I am a Sunni Muslim.
That's interesting because most of the monarchists seen online is either Catholic or Orthodox. I've not met many Muslim monarchists.
Well, yeah, that is kind of unique because there are many Islamic monarchies in the world, like Saudi Arabia, Brunei, or any other. Like, I believe the reason why not many people see Muslim monarchists is because they don't really have their voice heard. Like, across the West, you always have these writers and monarchists who express themselves and their monarchist views, while in the Muslim world, you don't exactly see many Muslim monarchists expressing it. I would say it's kind of like there are quite a few, or I would say more than quite a few, but just they are silent. Like nobody really knows that there are really that many.
Yeah, I mean, I forget his name. He was a very influential Muslim. What's his name? He was like a father of like I think it was around the 12th century. A lot of people blame him for the collapse of the Islamic Golden Age. He was a Muslim
Hmm.
reactionary who was deeply against the concept of moving more towards liberalization. I forget his name, Al Ghazali, or maybe
Yeah, I'm not sure myself.
Oh, yeah. Shoot, I'm afraid I don't remember, but I did read about him.
yeah. Uh, yeah, yeah. It seems like because in really the countries that have the actual most active monarchists are usually, actually, funny enough, in the Islamic world, the Sultanate of Brunei, Qatar, the UAE, Jordan. A lot of people talk about them, but there's really you see a lot of these. I guess you would say anti-colonialists, Muslim Marxists, which is I find honestly very weird
Yeah,
because
I
they,
know.
they, they, they seem to like to move to the United States and then shit talk the United States and talk about it was like look at all these Muslim sorry, communists, but didn't a lot of the Arab Muslim world have a lot of anti-communists as well? There was the even after the Iranian Revolution, I'm pretty sure most of
Well,
the leftists were removed because they kind of didn't like them.
I mean, that's probably
well,
why you see them in the United States.
Well, the thing is, I haven't really looked much into communism and socialism specifically in the Arab world, but yes, you can find a quite a good number of, I would say, even communist groups, militant groups. Even like, I know there is Palestine, for example, has. I believe two Marxist, Leninist, and communist parties. I even believe they have like a paramilitary force, and then you also have the PKK in Iraq. So, but so
And
I would so yes, there are quite a few. There is a good number of Arab socialists and such, but the majority of these socialists and communists, they are pan-Arabist. They seek the unification of all Arabian lands into yeah, as a pan-Arabian state.
Yeah, I always found that weird. Then they complain about like white nationalists or pan Europeanists or pan Slavists. I'm like, it's only okay when you guys do it. I mean, so when they do it, not when anybody else does it. Yeah, but I find it interesting that you're a pan Europeanist. I mean, a lot of it seems like a weird. I'm not like a weird position. I could see how. Would you describe yourself as like against the EU and more of the actual ideology of pan Europeanism as more of a racialistic perspective, or more of like a cultural perspective of Europe?
Well, in my personal opinion, like when it comes to the question, do I support the EU? When we're talking about the current EU in its current form, I would say yes, I oppose it. It needs a lot of reforms. While on the other hand, the idea of a European Union, I do not oppose. I actually support it. When it comes to my specific views on the European Union, I follow the ideals of the Pan-European Union, as well as from Otto von Habsburg. I follow his main ideas of a pan European movement, where basically it would be similar to that of the Austro-Hungarian federalization system, where Europe would be federalized in this conservative state, while also having autonomy for all the countries. But that's basically like the surface of my belief when it comes to pan-Europeanism. But I do not believe it to be as a sort of racial thing, because I'm not a racist, nor do I really believe in any racial supremacy. Rather, I would say it is more of a cultural thing, for because I believe that Europeans should be a lot more united, because everyone knows how many wars plague the European continent, with so many Europeans fighting each other. And specifically when we're seeing the influence from both the United States as well as other external factors like China, Europeans used to be like the masters of the world, but now you can pretty much see them being influenced from all sides, like from China and from other nations. So I believe a Europe where Europeans would actually come together to create a society would be, yeah, I would say it would be. But I'm not really, as I said, I am not supporting this current form of the European Union, this liberal one, but rather, as I said, I support the views of Otto von Habsburg European Union.
All right. Let's see what else we had on here. What topics? What type of monarchist would you describe yourself as? Like, I would describe myself as an absolutist. I believe that the king's authority should have no actual limit, and that he himself is the sole sovereign of a state.
Well, in my personal opinion, I believe I would describe myself as a semi-constitutional monarchist. I don't believe the king should should have this absolutist power where he rules over everything, like under a one party state autocracy, like for example the Tsardom of Russia. While I don't believe that all autocrats are inherently bad, but I find the idea of autocracy to not really be exactly favorable now. But that doesn't mean I want the monarch to be completely subdued by democratic principles, like for example in Sweden, Norway, where the monarch is only ceremonial; it doesn't really have any political power. I believe the sort of monarchism I believe is Prussian constitutionalism, of course, under the German Empire. So while the emperor or king does have quite a few political power, I believe the parliament or so and of course the prime minister, who is elected by the people, should also have a bit of political power as well, and not just the king. So that's what I would say. So not a figurehead, nor complete absolute, but I believe, as I said, the king does indeed need to have a good amount of power, but still, I believe the parliament or so, or the Senate, should also have a bit of it.
Yes. Uh, yeah, that's I've met a lot of I honestly call it semi-absolutism. I don't really like the term semi-constitutionalism. It's really not an accurate term. Let's see. Let's see. We did that. What are your thoughts on the divine right of kings? That's how I really view monarchism. I don't take this secularistic worldview that the monarch is the head of state due to some vague notions of social constructivism. I'm actually very against the concept of social constructivist thought. I think it just leads to just the breakdown of society in
Hmm.
general.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to divine right of king, I know that, for example, Catholics, Orthodox Christians, and such all have like their own rule on what is the divine right of a king. But personally, I'm gonna tell that from an Islamic perspective. Basically, in the Islamic sense, a monarch is a political religious figure. So he does in fact have like divine right to rule, meaning that his rule transcends politics itself. But like while we believe that monarchs like do have, for example, but the thing is like we don't exactly believe that monarchs are like told like by God themselves, you are the rightful ruler of this territory. Rather, from again from a let's take the Rashidun Caliphate as an example. The Caliphate had a was a very different political system than a monarchy. And when it comes to the Islamic sense of it, the ruler who has the most legitimacy is the one who implements divine rights by God the most efficiently. So there is no like true heritage or something, but like the figure who can implement religious rules is, by Islamic standards, the most legitimate.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's not exactly. I mean, exactly what really people who believe in divine right of kings really believe in the. It's more that a monarch rules by the. I think yeah, Gene Bowden said it the best that a monarch who has absolute authority, a monarch who is limited by certain factors, who cannot make war and peace, cannot make be the author of the law, is himself not sovereign, and that and that you truly need all of these things to be sovereign. But he also made a distinction between the right of sovereignty and the right of. He basically, I think he said it the best, is that no one is above the laws of God and nature, not even the divine, the absolute ruler, which is accurate. I don't think anybody is above the laws of God and nature.
Yeah, but personally, I have to say I haven't really researched that much into like the divine rule of ruling, so to say. So I haven't really researched that much into it.
Yeah, I'd suggest I have a good video on it actually. It covers some of Gene Bones' work. I really should make another video on it, but I'd suggest after this, John Neville Figgis's The Divine Right of Kings, Thomas Hobby's Leviathan is I haven't finished, and Gene Bones' Six Books of the Commonwealth, which are all good books on. Those are Catholics, and I forget it's like three books of a Russian statesman, which is more the orthodox view on the subject of autocracy.
Hmm.
But really, there is a Protestant view. The Protestant is more a lot of Protestant rule is also the head of the church in Protestant countries. So they usually take their authority through being the head of the Protestant church. I know in Sweden as Protestant, or Netherlands and Denmark. So all the kings and queens of Sweden are the head of the Church of Sweden and the Church of Norway.
Yeah, I agree. But also another thing that about when it comes to Islamic monarchies is that so basically many believe, for example, there are a lot of fundamentalists and extremists who believe that Islam in of itself is against the idea of monarchy, is against the idea of monarchism, that monarchism doesn't exist in Islam because as we saw, the Rashidun Caliphate, for example, didn't it wasn't a monarchy, it wasn't a monarchy, but but I would argue against that because well, history has demonstrated otherwise. After the Rashidun Caliphate period, almost every Muslim empire, sultanate, emirate, imamate, princedom, kingdom, and so on was in the form of monarchism. They had a ruling dynasty that governed the empire. But as I said, the interesting thing about Islam and the Sharia is that, unlike in Europe's divine rights of kings, the ruler, for example, doesn't really legislate, while the king does not make. While the king can actually like make new laws, except religious ones, because the religious ones are like the domain of the scholars, the muftis, and the judges. The king or ruler's rule main is to enforce the religious and civil law in the nation. So, as I said, so a king's legitimacy is also dependent on how well he enforces, let's say, Islamic law. Because if he is lax, then the scholars can, for example, withdraw their support, which would lead to their rule being less legitimate. Hence, it doesn't really matter per se whether it's monarch, king, queen, caliph, or something, so long as the ruler of the land and enforces God's laws, then the scholars would lend their support to that ruler.
Well, that's actually similar to what people in the divine right of kings. In, for example, most Catholic nations, the king doesn't have any authority to tell the Catholic Church what to do. The only person who can do that is the Pope, and usually the representative of the Pope in that country. In the Tsardom of Russia, there was some authority that the Tsar did have somewhat over the church, but really in the Orthodox Church, the Tsardom of Russia was under the Patriarch. He didn't. We believe in. I guess if you're talking from my perspective as an Orthodox monarchist, we believe in what you would call symphony, which symphonia, I think is the correct term, which is basically the state and the church are co-equals in government. The monarch would have, similar to what you said, applied to the state civil law, the and then military and non-church matters, but theological matters would be up to the Orthodox Church. And in Orthodoxy, really, all theological matters are have to be approved by a would have to be approved by a Grand Ecumenical Council, and we haven't had one of those in a while. It's
Hmm.
it's, yeah, that's really what it is. Okay. But yeah, like that's very similar to what the Catholic and Orthodox perspective on divine right would also be. It's similar to that. It doesn't assume that the king has the right over the church. The only people who would argue differently would be a Protestant monarchist would say the monarch is also the head of the church, therefore he has the right to can interpret God, the word of God. An Orthodox monarchist would never say that. They would say that's strictly the realm of the church.
Yeah. Hmm. So,
You know,
yeah.
so an interesting video I actually saw on your channel was the video about Ataturk. I did not know that much about Ataturk. I knew a bit about him as a Russian, sorry, Turkish, Turkish nationalist, but I did not know his like war on the church and just basically war on religion inside of Turkey, and how a lot of people view Turkey as like this Islamic country when it's really quite secular.
Well, to be fair, when the AK party, the current ruling party of Turkey, started a bit of a desecularization campaign. Like the funny thing is about Turkey. Like while Erdogan and the AK party are slowly desecularizing the nation, they still venerate Ataturk, and even in the fucking civil code of Turkey, which protects the memory of Ataturk, you actually can't like say anything bad about him or or defamation or something. But this could actually lead you to be imprisoned for over 2 or 3 years.
Man, the U.S. really should put that in our constitution. No, defaming the founders, because you really see that in the United States. America doesn't really have a separation of church and state. All it states is, which is a misunderstanding of the United States, is that we will establish no official church of the United States. It was basically understood by the founders that yes, this is a product mainly Christian. This is a Christian nation, and that's fine. It was never meant to be. This is a secular humanist nation. It's not. That the American founders were not in favor of secular humanism.
Yeah. Also, I have a question for you, since you're a American monarchist, as I see. So in your theory, what royal family should rule America if it theoretically ever became a monarchy?
There's several interpretations of that. I liked your video on that when you talked about Bosnia. Really should do one on that. But my personal opinion, if you could get one, would be a descendant of George III, because that would the current house of Windsor was not the monarchs of Britain during the time that Britain controlled the United States. So it makes absolutely no sense for a Windsor to be the king of the United States. So it would be a descendant of
Well,
George III. I think the current living descendant. Hold on, I definitely had it when one of the.
uh, thing is that it like yes, I can certainly see that train of thought about the United States coming back and going from the latest descendant, but it breaks convention with the rest of the British Empire and the Commonwealth, in which just follows the crown of the United Kingdom.
Mhm. Also, another thing, if I may add, so I was looking through the channel and a few of the podcasts, and I have noticed that you guys are a bit of fans of like the Romanian Iron Guard and Codreanu, if I'm right.
Yeah. I do like Codriano. I do have his book.
I also have his books, The Prison Notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like what he says about I like his struggle and how he presented himself and his thoughts on just certain aspects of subversion, and that a country's sins basically dictate like you get what you deserve. A country If a country is sinful, it gets what it deserves, and that it's active when you fall away from God. It's a very Christian moral perspective on it's like a lot of people think that because occasionally we might have someone who is I guess you would say, a follower of a certain German philosopher, German politician from the 30s, that we are fascist, but it's not. I am very much a reactionary monarchist, and so are most of my other. There's two other co-hosts. One's a Jucheist, and like I guess you would say, it's kind of a form of I wouldn't call it communistic monarchism. It's basically like it is somewhat communistic, more of a moderate form of monarchism that takes it did basically takes find somehow he found the position of monarchism through more Juche and socialist means than reactionaries. So yeah, I would say I really deeply agree with a lot of what Caggiano believes in, and this concept that you don't have a that you should treat other people uh, in a Christian moral perspective, that the state should not allow usury or abuse of the basically people, but still the Monarch is a father of the something actually I think one of the sultans of Turkey said is to his janissaries is my sons during one of the crusades uh is you are my children. I guess, and you won a major battle, and that's how I really see monarchy as the father of the nation. I really agree with Codriano when he talks about he actually acknowledges the abuses of somewhat wouldn't say capitalistic system, but the abuses of the workers. Hey, look, they have some legitimate grievances, but we should not allow you should not raise your sword against your own country for the sake of one's bread.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, I have researched. I have actually researched a bit about Codreanu. In fact, I have a few. I actually have three Romanian legionary friends, and in fact, one of them is even commenting on the in the comments, and basically, they actually got me to learn more about Codreanu and stuff while I have read his book and well as his prison notes. I do actually agree with a lot of things he said. I mean, the Iron Guard was actually monarchist and not some fascist dictatorship like others may think. But at the end of the day, I still believe that the Iron Guard and Codranu are, well, I would say a bit too radical and extreme for my taste, specifically when it came to Codriano's views on Jews and stuff. So while I do agree with a good amount of what say, and I do believe he was unjustly courted by Karol II and of course killed, and his death was covered up. At the end of the day, I still believe they're a bit too radical for my taste. For my taste.
Yeah, no, not everyone's cup of tea. Another good book I like that I'm reading is Always with Honor. That's a good book. It's I don't know if most people haven't read it. It's basically the notes of the general of the White Army, the memoir of the general of the White Army during the Russian Civil War. Uh, yeah, but how does okay? I answer that. How does someone? How do you guys? And I would go a communist and a monarchist. That's the funniest thing ever. Basically, Nate was actually my original co-host. I liked Hopper and a lot of what he said when we first talked. So I was like, I kind of like both of them. So Nate was the first co-host, and then Hopper kind of just
Materialized out of nowhere.
materialized out of nowhere. Nation, Nation, we interviewed him, and uh, the Iron Guard more radical than today's Americans? Question. That's a good
No,
question.
yeah,
That's a good.
I would say no.
No,
Like,
no. Like I don't think like I know there's a good bit of like actual a lot of Orthodox Christians in America do like Condriano and those small groups of people who are forming a similar ideology in the U.S. to the Iron Guard, but the American Iron Guard really, I mean, I wouldn't say it doesn't really make that much sense because America's Protestant and the Iron Guard were very heavily inspired by what Orthodox actually believe. So I'm just reading the chat.
yeah. Now, also, one of our topics we didn't actually go through is the Illyrian movement and Yugoslavism.
Yeah, I want to know
So,
like your thoughts on the concept of Illyrianism that the I guess South Slavs are all descendants of the ancient Greek Illyrians.
well, basically, this is the thought that all the quote unquote Southern Slavs are origins of the ancient Illyrians. I would say that is completely false, and almost no one today believes in that. Where, as we all know, there was the Great Slavic Migration, which, as all the Slavs then came down to the Balkans, and pretty much, I would say, replaced the Illyrian population in modern day Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, Bulgaria, and well, Macedonia. And the only, like, I would say, the closest descendants of these ancient Illyrians are the Albanians. You can actually see how many Albanian ultranationalists I love to claim like their Illyrian heritage, their ancestors, then calling like all the Slavs aliens and stuff. So I don't believe that the other southern Slavs are descendants of ancient Illyrians. Well, there was definitely uh, inbreeding between the two of them, like but I wouldn't say like they are pure descendants of them, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, it's really just it never really took off. It was kind of like a something in Croatia. It never really took off as a movement. I mean, to be fair, I know a lot of like Serbian ultranationalists, and they scream that everyone who's not Serbian is they just hate everyone for some reason who's not.
Oh, trust me, I have had plenty of experience with those people. Actually, another interesting thing. One of the founders of Bosniak nationalism was part of the Illyrian movement, like in like the 19th century. I think uh, it's Fra. Yeah, it was Fra Antun Knežević. What's interesting is that how modern day we like perceive when someone says that he is a Bosniak, we instantly think of like Muslim nationalism and stuff. But this guy, who was one of the fathers of Bosniak nationalism, was actually Catholic, and he also had a good following of other Catholics promoting this Bosniakism ideology. And one of his students, Fra Antun Knežević, he actually started writing a Bosniak nationalist newspaper after his teacher had passed away. So that's the interesting thing.
Yeah, the Illyrian movement was one of the most. Yeah, it was very silly. It was a very the 19th century, late 1800s, early 19th century had a lot of really weird philosophies pop up that kind of went nowhere. It, you like a lot of them did just go nowhere. Uh, Especially in the Balkans, a lot of them did go absolutely nowhere and ended up like no one knows about them.
I mean,
Hmm.
to be fair, like a lot of things in the Balkans, they go somewhere and there's war crimes committed and all that, and then they die out very quickly. They do go somewhere, usually to court.
You look, it's I don't look if I the whole Serbians, we didn't commit any of those war crimes. We just sing about all those times we were totally going to commit war crimes. It's not really funny, but it's just kind of obnoxious, like how like people who deny Serbian war crimes and then say, but you have like all like catalogs of music that has singing you're going to do it. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's like it was
yeah,
ironic.
yeah, I know. Trust me, you haven't heard of. Now, personally, I don't hate Serbs like as an ethnicity overall. Like I have, in fact, met a lot of cool Serbs, but I would say the only type of Serbs I kind of despise are like the ultra nationalists and nationalists, because I have had, as a Bosniak, I have had so many encounters with these people. It's unbelievable. Basically, okay, let me list some of my favorite things about them. These people, these ultra nationalists, as when it comes to, for example, the World War One, anyone who supports the Central Powers, Austria, Hungary, and the German Empire, is automatically a Nazi to them, unironically.
Oh yeah,
they,
yeah.
they they call them Nazi because, for example, on Twitter one time when I took a screenshot like of my room and I had the German Empire and Austria-Hungary flag on my wall, so many Serbian nationalists came flooding and saying, "Oh, where's the Nazi flag? Huh? Where is the SS Handjar flag?" Like so many of them came in. It's unbelievable how many of them just
Well,
associate World War One with World War Two. Like
well, well,
how? Yeah.
look.
I mean, granted,
They
when it comes to Serbia, there isn't too much difference between like who they're fighting in the war.
yeah, well, Serbia is such. It's funny because World War I. I mean, they calls well, they really calls it. Look, no one really calls World War I. I mean, there's a lot of factors that went into World War I, but it's. I find it. I mean, I find it kind of. I mean, I'm not against the concept of the Serbians or ultra nationalism. I'm a reactionary. We're basically the prime example of we don't really care what other people think about us, and we basically don't care what really the concept of liberalism. I don't want to get into a reactionary thought. It's a rabbit hole of there's people. I'm just gonna say there's some extreme people who are reactionaries, myself included, and don't consider that a negative. But yeah, Serbian ultranationalists are a very confusing bunch because they simultaneously uh, support Russia, which is basically weird. I wouldn't say is weird because Russia, in its constitution, says that they're a multiracial country, while simultaneously supporting the concept of racial supremacism.
Hmm.
It's really just seems. It seems like it's like okay, I and then they go. Then they attack, I guess, Ukrainian ultranationalists. They're like, we don't like you. I'm like,
Hmm.
that makes no sense, but okay.
Yeah, okay.
It,
Also, another confusing thing about them and their logic is, for example, you're probably aware how Serbian ultranationalists love to say that the Bosniaks are in fact Muslimized Serbs, that the Bosniak ethnicity doesn't exist and stuff. So,
Oh yeah,
while on one hand they claim that the Bosniak ethnicity doesn't exist and that we're all Muslim Serbs, on the other hand they still carried out the genocide against us and even called us Turks. So,
yeah.
which one is it?
Like I'm part Croatian. I hear this stuff all the time as well.
Yeah.
look, there's a, I know a lot. I
the,
can't really
the
look.
best way to
I get in trouble with a lot of people because I'm Orthodox and we just side with Serbia. Sorry, we just say the Orthodox, war Orthodox. Bosnia's Muslim, Albania's Muslim. It's uh, Serbia's. It's more like the Orthodox world to say, well, it's really hard to say without
Well,
sounding like a
Well,
psycho.
actually, another thing about it. So basically, I've actually researched into the Serbian Orthodox Church, and and it's actually very interesting because the Serbian Orthodox Church is not your usual Orthodox Church like Russian or something, because their Russian Orthodox Church is deeply, extremely deeply rooted in Serbian nationalism. Basically,
Oh,
even the patriarchs themselves of the Serbian Orthodox Church, I believe even the church itself says that only Serbs can be Orthodox. That if you're not an Orthodox Christian, you're not a Serb
yeah,
by ethnicity. Like
that
their
that, that
church is something else, so to say.
that's really a lot of Orthodox churches. A lot of it is based in nationalism. A lot because the Orthodox view is that the church is supposed to serve simultaneously with the state. So the Romanian Orthodox Church would support Romania, and like this perspective, this is actually an interesting perspective, is because Russia and Japan were at war, and then Orthodox priests. Uh, was approached by because Japan at one point had it still does have a large or small growing Orthodox community, and he asked them during the Russo-Japanese War, should we pray for Russia's victory because Russia's Orthodox? He said no, you should pray for Japan's victory because you're Japanese. That's the perspective of the Orthodox. Like if America and Russia was at war, a American Orthodox perspective would be you should pray for America to win because you are American. Now that's this perspective. Like same thing with I know Albania has an autocephalous Orthodox church, and I think Bosnia does, and so does
No,
Bulgaria.
Bosnia does not have its own Orthodox Church. The Orthodox Church that we have in Bosnia is the Serbian Orthodox Church, but I do know that Croatia has a an official Orthodox church. However, still the majority of Orthodox Christians, which are in Croatia, are Serbs. So they identify more with the Serbian Orthodox Church rather than the Croatian Orthodox Church.
Yeah, yeah. It's basically that would be the perspective of like if you were a Bosniak Orthodox Christian, the real perspective would be, and you were fighting, and you were in Bosnia, you would say, I support the the Bosnian state. It's more of a that because Orthodoxy is deeply, a lot of it is deeply, especially in the U.S., it's deeply rooted in. A lot of it is deeply rooted in, not like entirely rooted, but a lot of it is nationalistic, because the Catholic perspective is would be the Catholic Church's role to play in the state. Should the king in a Catholic country still has to answer to the Pope? The Orthodox perspective is if you're an autocephalous church, you answer to the patriarch, and all the patriarchs answer to each other.
Mm, yeah.
It, it's hard to explain. I'm really bad at explaining Orthodox Christian Orthodox Christian organizational. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very interesting. Like right after the same reason I see a problems brewing in the United States is that no one actually wanted to solve the conflict in. No one, like, we bought both NATO, and the same reason they don't like NATO is that no one wanted to actually just go in there and say, okay, let's sort out Yugoslavia, who, and see who actually can have these, and sort out the territorial disputes, because that's the whole thing with like uh really, it's just kind of crazy what happened in Yugoslavia. I mean,
Yeah.
like, basically one day everyone was neighbors, the next day they were trying to kill each other.
Well, that's foreign interference for you.
Yeah, that was really that was so many people's fault. That was Russia had a hand in it, the US. No one's really hands clean in that. No real international group with hands was clean in the bloodiest conflict I since think World War II.
Well, honestly, when it comes to the collapse of Yugoslavia, while I do say that there was definitely foreign interference, I wouldn't exactly say foreign interference was the major reason why Yugoslavia collapsed. I believe the main reason why Yugoslavia collapsed were mainly internal rather than external.
Yeah, I know. Tito really promoted the. I actually, funny enough, a guy I'm friends with this, and he lives in the U.S. and in his like shop, he has like a picture of Tito, and like like a pic like like a kind of like shrine to like Tito. I was like, like,
Oh,
okay,
oh,
Tito is.
trust. I know that feeling so well because I was actually Titoist in the past. But there is one very interesting thing when it comes to these modern day Titoists, especially in Croatia, Bosnia, Croatia. Uh, Basically, I believe you may have you like seen my video on Yugoslavia on the economy.
I watched some of it. I didn't
Yeah.
finish it.
Well, basically, as I said in the beginning, the main way these people started believing in Titoism was through the stories of old people who like to say to them, everything in Yugoslavia is perfect. Everyone had a job rather than today. Tito kept everything together, and basically with these stories they it shaped their political mindset in the beginning, and then they start calling themselves Tito. It's like, oh yeah, Marshal Tito, we love your brotherhood and unity, death to fascism, freedom to the people. But in reality, when you actually ask them, okay, what are the founding principles of communism, they will literally know not how to answer that. So Titoists don't exactly actually know anything about the ideology itself, and I was basically the same.
See, I kind of was as well through my grandfather. Uh,
Yeah.
Largely influenced by my grandparents' politics ways. But yeah, that's absolutely similar case for me when it came to the shaping of my economic views.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which is why today I am a very big critic of communist Yugoslavian Tito, despite being a former Titoist.
X
I
Yeah, ex
like it.
Titoist.
Definitely wasn't perfect.
podcast, X Titoist podcast. No, look, I can tell you, I was
Yeah,
never a Titoist. I was a lot when I was younger. I was a lot more, not even that much younger. When I was about, I guess I don't know. I'm in my late 20s. I'm like in my mid 20s. I'm not. So I'm a bit old. So yeah, I was an anti-corporate. I guess you would say anarchist.
it.
Mm-hmm.
I still
Anarchist.
I still kind of am one, but it's sort of like when it applied to Yugoslavia, but like for Canada,
Uh,
it's
uh,
just
uh,
it's sort of like a
uh,
molding between that and high Toryism.
basically, my political journey is a giant roller coaster. All I can say, basically. So here's how Berixi started. I started out as a Titoist, and later I identified myself more with Marxism Leninism, even though I knew nothing much about it. I just followed the whole "workers of the world unite, free the workers of them shackles" and stuff. And now here from this jump, I went from Marxist Leninist to National Socialist.
You know, that's not really that American Yugoslavian monarchism versus Titoist fight. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and what's fucked up is I was in this fucking National Socialist phase when I was like 14, 15 years old, and guess what, I actually wrote an entire fucking manifesto. It's like 8 9 pages long. Yes, I literally wrote my own manifesto, but then I think we all had that little teenage phase when we thought all these ideologies were cool. But nah, I now I just consider myself a monarchist. I de-radicalized myself.
I mean, I actually would say that's more. You just moved further to the right. Like there is no such like the libertarian to alt right. That's a myth. There's only a libertarian monarchy, communist. All roads just lead to monarchism. That's what everyone's all these leftists are afraid of. All roads lead to monarchy.
Yeah.
The world has problems. 1940s. No, you need to go farther back than that. The real, it's not World War II. It's the post World War One consensus that's the problem. We need to go back to the post World War One consensus where democracy was considered a good thing. Well, like, yeah, what what is the type of monarchist? What is that pod in I am podcast part of? I am part of wait, oh right. I sorry, I that's one of my fans. I've read your manifesto. I wouldn't I don't have a word for it. It's you really just you need some work. Need some work the manifesto.
Wait, what? Wait, you like mine or?
No. It was one of my fans. He showed me to critique his manifesto. I
Oh, okay.
uh thoughts on two so I'm a bit not socks to reactionary monarchists.
Actually, after Natsok, I was a clerical fascist, and then only after that I became a monarchist. So Titoist, Leninist, Natsok, clerical fascist, and then
Hey,
monarchist.
that's the exact same thing I went through. But I started. I went from from a anti-corporate, I guess you would say Bernie Sanders type in 2016, around like 2017 I consider myself a national socialist. I mean libertarian classical liberal. I never really understood. Honestly, I have a better understanding of classical liberalism than now now I'm more that now before even when I was a classical liberal, I really didn't have a good understanding of it. I actually have a better understanding of libertarian thought as well. And I guess I became a libertarian, and then there really isn't any libertarian alt-right pipeline. Most of the libertarians I know are still libertarians. It's a nonsense thing that leftists make up. But yeah, then I became like a Cadriano s fascist after that because I started going to an Orthodox church. I did that out of a whim. And I was part of a lot of radical right groups, which I'm never going to get into which ones because, in all honesty, they were all terrible. And I honestly think there's very few good right wing groups in the United States. But yeah, that seems like a natural progression. Like people say, I mean, I think I don't know if you've ever read Curtis Yarvin. He's like an American neo-reactionary, but he goes into like we tend to get into this phase where we're like everyone the media says the worst thing you can be is a Nazi, so why not be a Nazi? And we think you're just doing really what the media wants you to do. Like I've interviewed a guy who was a legitimate National Socialist, but he could at least express what the National Socialists actually believe. It wasn't just one day he decided to become a National Socialist. He could just actually really say like this is what I believe as a National Socialist, and this is the ideology of what I believe in, which honestly makes sense to me. But what I'm getting at is that a lot of people just think they say like okay leftism is wrong, the conservative establishment in the United States won't stand up to leftism or communism or anything, I'll just be a National Socialist because that was like in their minds they think that's the last thing that defeated pretty much defeated communism. And then people's like okay but I'm a really religious person, how about clerical, how about theocrat, and then they realize like oh wait, monarchism is just that's just the end result when you realize okay we already had a solution to all of these nonsense ideologies. It's monarchy.
Yeah. So, is there perhaps anything else we could talk about or discuss about, or anything
uh,
else you guys perhaps are interested in? My views or like general opinion or something?
okay, we had one thing. If you
Well,
don't want to answer it, don't feel free not to answer it. What are your thoughts
Okay.
on on Kosovo? Is it Serbia?
Okay. Basically, I believe. Uh, whether Kosovo is rightfully Serbian, rightfully Albanian in terms of in terms of whether who has more rights to it historically and stuff, who has more right to it culturally and stuff. That is something I don't answer, but no matter what the answer to that question is, I will at the end of the day still support Kosovo because well, it will just weaken an enemy of mine, and well, that's just realpolitik for you.
That is the correct answer. Okay, let me just see if there's any. Nate,
uh,
sorry, Hopper. Is there any
oh,
questions from the audience? Let's see.
oh,
Oh, there are quite a few.
yeah, there's quite a few. Just before we do get into it, I do want to wish King Carl Gustav of Sweden a happy birthday.
Ah,
Ah, yeah,
oh,
it's his birthday today.
Yes, it is.
Ah, nice.
And
ah.
some baseness coming out of the British Empire. Britain is going to be imposing, or is likely to impose, direct rule on the Virgin Islands due to the Prime Minister being arrested.
The Virgin Islands were always rightfully British clay.
You
So were
you
the
you you,
Falklands.
you know the islands.
So is most of the world.
You know the islands are mostly populated by redditors.
Maybe you know
And
what? Honestly, we could use some drone strikes on the Virgin Islands. There's clearly a lot of terrorists there.
Honestly, I remember that fucking time when Reddit wanted to go together and buy an island, a society of redditors. Yes, that's really something they tried and failed miserably, and they got scammed by a random Cuban for $50,000. and, and basically, I suggest this: make an island, invite all redditors there, and then just fucking drone strike it.
This is this.
just have Elon Musk buy Reddit and delete it. That's
Look,
what you should do with Twitter.
look before they like banned all the actually, the problem is the same reason. The problem is that they banned, basically you can't go. The problem was that Reddit, back when it was first founded, its founder was actually assassinated. I'm gonna get my tinfoil hat by
Oh
the
yeah.
Obama
Oh
administration
no.
because he was a big this was a really big movement that I used to be part of, actually. The really anti-war, anti-corporate, kind of left-leaning libertarians. And after Obama's first term, basically through, I guess I believe is, I'm putting my tinfoil hat on right now, and political assassination and destruction of a lot of this. I don't like the concept that the government is forcing you to do that. But honestly, that entire movement, it was always kind of gay,
Yeah,
anyways.
honestly, throughout my life, I wasn't really a conspiracy theorist guy. I did like to listen to conspiracy theories, but like, I didn't really believe in them. Like, the only conspiracy theory I really believed in my life was Area 51 aliens. But other than that, nothing much.
Yeah, I mean, weirdly enough, another guest who likes to come on Uber, so he says the same thing. And honestly, I get it. I like conspiracies. I
Eh,
love making jokes about conspiracies or talking about them, but it seems like it's just kind of becomes very unserious very quickly. You just become re- yeah,
Hmm.
it's very, you
Yeah.
become like, you just develop like very unserious. You don't, you get a lot of hangers on who are just interested in like this crazy idea, these crazy ideas, and you end up like flat earthers or
Oh yeah.
I mean, I sometimes make the joke. My friend made a very funny joke once. He's like, how about realm Earth? The Earth is a realm. It can't be explained in. I forget what he said. He said something really funny about it. It was like the funniest thing I think I've ever heard him say. And then, yeah, so I just goes like, the Earth is a realm.
uh,
That is my favorite ideology to go troll people with, and just walk around saying, like, you just jump. It's like, see, the Earth was round. That wouldn't happen. Uh,
Okay, so we have more comments from the audience. Conspiracy theory question: was General George Patton assassinated by the American regime? Honestly, I really don't know anything about George Patton.
eh,
yes, 100%. He was assassinated by the communists and America because he really did realize that, in his words, we were fighting the wrong enemy. I don't really agree with that 100%. I agree with that. What Patton's idea is that we should have kept marching until we kicked the commies out of Moscow is ultimately correct. He very much was assassinated. Like, he was perfectly healthy after that car crash, and the man wasn't in bad health, and he mysteriously dies the next day. Yeah, Patton was very much assassinated by a combination of U.S. intelligence and the Soviet Union because he hated both, and most likely he would have went back to the United States and ran for president and won. Patton was extremely popular, very much. He That's not a conspiracy theory. He was assassinated 100%.
or or was it just Eisenhower wanting to be next president, knowing that Patton would have?
Isaac, you know what? Eisenhower is so over exaggerated as a general. He literally was good at organizing. He was not a good strategist. Every victory he had was because of few other generals under him. Bernard Montgomery was a better general than Eisenhower. People with this Eisenhower and I like Ike. People in the Eisenhower. America belongs to Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? Let me just scroll. Nate, can you scroll up, or can only I do that?
Uh,
Sorry, Hopper. Why do I keep calling
yeah,
you
I
Nate?
I can.
Let's see
Uh,
what.
Yeah. Also, we have another
yeah.
question from one of the viewers down there. One of the first questions. What do you think about King Carol II? Well, honestly,
Uh,
well, in my personal opinion, he was the complete opposite of King Carol I, who, well, I think he said something along the lines of everything for the country, but not for me. Well, King Carol II was pretty much the exact opposite of that. Like, he had this very fancy way of living, used the country's budget for his own luxurious needs. He was a big womanizer, and honestly, he should be the example of what a monarch shouldn't be. And then, to top it all off, this man carried out a royal coup and also got Codreanu killed.
What are my thoughts on the on what do you guys think of thoughts on Georgia? Funny enough, I am actually friends with one of the princes of Georgia. I'm not even joking. He is my good friend in real life. I am friends with one of like I think he's the fifth. Technically, he'd be the fourth in line for the Georgian throne. So yeah, I'm 100% in favor of restoring the Georgian monarchy for for ideological reasons and because it personally benefits me.
Based nepotism.
Yeah, he's actually he actually has a YouTube channel called The Spartanist. Extremely nice guy, very good person, good friend of mine. Go subscribe to the Spartanist. He's like a manosphere type guy, interesting guy. Gives good opinions on rocking out, being masculine. Questions on the Greek opinion on the Greek monarchy. Yeah, I like the Greek monarchy. It's sad that it was dissolved. Modern is modern Greeks are not Byzantium. Oh, those are fighting words. I will fight you. I will fight you. Whoever's saying that. That's. Oh, did he leave? Darn
No,
it.
I don't think so. Oh wait, yes, he did. There.
Uh, uh, did we scare him off?
I hope
Uh,
not.
I hope not. Was it all the jokes? Uh, darn it. IP. IP. The
King Zog. Eh,
uh,
he. I think he should have invaded Italy instead.
King Zog is a
Yeah.
great. We really do need to do an episode of King Zog, because that was a really interesting time in message. I will be right back. Oh, wait, internet connection. You know what? I think this is literally a conspiracy against this podcast because everyone keeps having internet connection issues. Like every time we go live, someone is having an internet issue. Like I had it like for a good like 2 hours. Nation was the only one talking to Ubersoy.
Yeah.
Kings.
Damn big internet screwing us over.
Look, the international internet. I will be back. I will be back soon. The on oh no, the loyalists internet went down. Oh no, loyalists was. What was that say? Sorry, I'm dyslexic, so I misread things. He's live. Yeah, no, I'm still live. I'm still here. Uh, but the internet keeps screwing up. Uh, this is yeah, just joking. Okay, yeah, I know, I know. I'm coming back. Okay, this is sometimes I have terrible technical difficulties, and I'm coming. Okay, I should stop saying that. That sounds dirty. I am in support of American monarchy. What kind of politic? Uh, hold on. Let me just get my screen read on. I'm dyslexic, guys. That's a good question. Which I like what Charles Colomb says about uh dukedoms. Yeah, probably dukedoms. So yeah, duchies. Sorry, duchies. And the governors are appointed. The governor becomes a duke. My friend, if you are dyslexic, why don't you the other guy read? That's a good question. I usually do have the other guy read stuff.
Yeah, I can take over if you want.
Okay, what did Dark say? When you
Whenever
guys,
I listen to spicy things on mobile data, I suddenly lose connection, and it won't connect back unless I restart the phone.
yeah,
Verizon is monitoring phones. That's my conspiracy.
that is, yeah, that is weird. I always have
I
technical difficulties when we start talking about certain things.
I always have a like. I'm not at university anymore, but my university internet would cut down a lot. Usually after looking up something, but also like in the middle of class, so I'm not entirely convinced on that. Might possibly just be which would not survivorship bias, but
Confirmation
yeah,
bias.
yes, confirmation bias.
That's yo. That's is the American way of life, y'all. We have fun with the CIA. With the
Eh,
CIA. You
uh,
know what?
I mean,
We're
I do
not
want to say
big.
that I don't have to deal with the CIA, but I kind of do because they're everywhere in the world.
No, what's the Canadian version of the CIA?
CSIS and okay, so CSIS outright, but for
How?
organizations that track you, apparently the one to be worried about is the Public Health Agency.
Also, hello, I am back. I am terribly sorry for that little incident. My internet usually doesn't crash like that, but it just did this time.
Okay, nation. So, fuck. Sorry, oop, I want to cuss. Uh, is the panel have a has a assist that I keep screwing up my words. One of the viewers is being a wee bit being a fed. Nah, he's just a bit of a weird person, eccentric person. He's like one of my oldest viewers. He's a bit eccentric to say the least. Watch. Uh, Hopper, do you want to pull up the questions from the audience?
Yeah. Uh oh, his internet crashed again. Oh no. Uh, it's hard to keep track. It's been a busy day. Oh, there's a new one. Hang on. Thoughts
Just
on the Yugoslav Serbian monarchy. I so when it comes to Yugoslavia, like
I
I
would.
think I think the Serbian monarchy would be the most common, would be the most likely to take over Yugoslavia if it was a monarchy. But I think in the case of Yugoslavia, like the Austro-Hungarian solution would be best.
Yeah. Yeah, Lavender, it was nice talking to you guys as well. Sorry, nice talking to you. BTW, I am the guy everyone
I'm a
is.
fed. Everything I've been saying to you is has been led into compromising yourself. I
I
haven't compromised shit other than you know that I'm in a different country where you have no jurisdiction.
uh well, Mexican monarchy, yes. Uh
I
hmm, those that's a good question. I know Brazil has an actually a follower of mine's a Brazilian monarchist. We should really get him on the show. If you DM me, I actually would love to talk to a Mexican monarchist. You
yeah,
know,
I think the Mexican monarchists might have a similar issue as the Americans, as in who 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 would take over.
Well, there's two thoughts. I think the Maximilian does have descendants, but then there's also the nativist monarchists who say, we we are gonna let's launch as the Inca Empire, the Aztec Empire, which is weird because Mexico is really Catholic. I don't know any Mexicans who aren't Catholics. Maybe you're sorry me. Uh, yeah, yeah. I usually keep my computer quite updated, so just you really. Uh, oh, Dark Calhoun will be on. I think Mexican hybrid. Yeah, yeah, that's funny. But yeah, Dark Calhoun. We should be. He's should be on tomorrow if we're still on for that or not. I don't like if he's still watching. Just asking him that question. This is a very interactive podcast. I read the chat. Hopefully, it
Yeah,
never. Hopefully, as a Mexican
perhaps
monarchist, I say the third Mexican empire,
was the
Mexican government, the best. Yeah, but like if you want to reestablish the Mexican empire, we have territorial disputes. You're gonna get in a war with the United States. I live in the U.S. That's a bit weird. Okay,
I mean, there are parts of the U.S. that are rightfully part of Mexico.
no, they are not. Hopper. I'm gonna come to Canada. I'm gonna fight you.
See, I think the best solution for the United States, hear me out, is like so Northern California and some of those desert states, all the way down to Texas. Those get
No,
included with those go
no,
back to Mexico.
no, they
The
don't.
rest of it gets incorporated with Canada into a reformatted British North America.
I don't support that at all. I those are all ours. We took them from Mexico. We're not giving them back. The U.S. doesn't have to give stuff back, except the Philippines. I would say I fully support getting rid of Puerto Rico. Nothing that I have anything against Puerto Ricans. I mean, I think actually I have said on this podcast I'm a white supremacist, and I stand by that statement. I mean, people can clip that I stand by
I
that.
say I say we force you to give it back at the barrel of a British musket.
Oh, what can I do? New Austria, what of a new Austria, America, Austrian? Yeah, like that. Honestly, that would be a bit weird because a lot of people don't like the concept of American Anglo-Saxon country, myself included.
Yeah, as
Union of United States and Mexico. No, no, we're not doing that. We are
as
not doing that. That makes no sense. One's a very
for
Spanish country and the other one's an Anglo-Saxon country.
for
No,
Austria-Hungary, sure, as long as the Hungarian king holds the rank of admiral.
actually, wasn't that what is it? Maximilian a Habsburg?
I I believe so. He was, I think it was Spanish or French Habsburgs.
Yeah, yeah. Look, there's a lot of I think the current heir to the Orleans throne is also a Habsburg. Is also a French or a Spanish Orleans, not a French Orleans. They dispute who actually gets to be in charge of France. I'm like, you know, how about instead of disputing who gets to be monarch, you actually have to build a monarchist movement that's capable of taking political power before then you can get into the wars of dispute. Then you start the wars of the secession wars. But this podcast is we've just evolved into basically just nonsensical shit posting about how we're going to fight
Yes.
each other. So I will see everyone if Dark Calhoun is still wants to do it tomorrow or not, I can do it next week. Nation may or may not be back this week. I still gotta talk to him. We'll probably maybe I don't know. Let me know if anybody thinks it's better to do a recorded thing or like a live thing. I think we're gonna start doing like pre-recorded stuff because a lot of our co-host can't always do it, and we need a better time.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to everyone else about that though.
Yeah,
Change that big should have everyone involved.
yeah, it really should. I'll see everyone probably next week or tomorrow, depending whether or not I do that with Dark Calhoun. I hope everyone's enjoyed this. Thanks for Lavender coming on. I think it was a very good episode. Probably one of the best. I really like it when my co-hosts are on because then I'm usually just most of the really the most popular episode with Brandon Martinez. It's an interesting episode, but it's an episode that I really should have gotten everyone on. It would have been a bit more dynamic. Yeah, I guess subscribe to Lamido. He has a really good video on the. I'd suggest his video on the German Empire is pretty good, and who should be king of Bosnia. Until next time, I hope everyone's at church tomorrow because I'll be at church tomorrow, and this is a Christian
Yeah,
podcast.
I can't go anywhere for at least another 48 hours.
Oh yeah, you came down with the coof.
Yeah, yeah, just stopped showing symptoms. They took a test, still positive.
Yep. See everyone next